Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast. It's presented by Cabo Wabo Tequila. That's the unquestionably Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. And Cabo Wabo isn't just tequila. It's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila. And Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of NASCAR. So add a bold splash to race day watching with Cabo Wabo. And if you're heading to a race this weekend, come celebrate race day with Cabo Wabo. But we want to remind you to leave the driving to the professionals. So please enjoy the thick cut, bold taste of Cabo Wabo Tequila responsibly. Grab your buds and a bottle of Cabo Wabo Tequila for the boldest race day experience ever. You got to be 21 years or older to handle this stuff, and you have to handle it responsibly. It is delicious. Go get yourself some today and enjoy the races responsibly. Thank you, Cabo Wabo, for your continued support. I think I'm going to go up to their office at some point, Spider. I heard their offices is kind of close to us, and it's a pretty cool little office building, so I'm looking forward to jumping up there.
That would probably be one of the few offices that rivals ours in terms of having like a bar in the office. I bet they have a suite set up over there.
Yeah, I think I'd have to call an Uber, to get home afterwards. It just seems like one of those nights. We weren't able to get there after we did the Cabo Wabo 250 last year, but they were playing our performance on a continual loop. Your performance, I was sort of there for the ride. I kind of missed the opening call. Before we get to the headlines, if you guys don't mind, there's nothing more sensible than to give the Nobody's Cooler Award right from the jump. Nobody's Cooler is brought to you by Arctic Coolers, which has always been our favorite thing for insulated drinkware and coolers. And you can get them at arcticoutdoors.com. I think it's also in Target, perhaps Walmart. But Arctic's the best. So the Nobody's Cooler Award has to go to Greg Biffle this week. I'm a week late telling you this. It's a no-brainer. Every time you put on social media, just go on to Biff's page. And it's extraordinary what this guy is doing. People, organizations, cities, they're all getting together and they're trying to do what they can for people who are affected by Helene. Greg Biffle is jumping into his own helicopter and choppering in and out, fucking everything that he can at his own personal expense, too, from what I understand, for gas, which isn't cheap. I guess it's jet fuel maybe that goes into helicopters. I don't know enough about it. But either way, this guy's a stud. He was the guy who took me on my only pace car ride. It was myself and Amy Long. No, not Amy.
Yeah.
Amy Long, a lovely young girl. And he had us like 140 up against the wall. It was fucking awesome. And it just continuing on, he's just an awesome guy and he should be recognized. I went and I had bought a sweatshirt from Greg Biffle, not the one that's like Tennessee Strong or anything like that. I just bought one of the Greg Biffle sweatshirts just to kind of put money in his pocket so he can buy more gas to go get more people's satellite phones. Nobody's cooler than Greg Biffle this week, and I don't think anyone has a problem with that.
No, I love it. Actually, I've been a Greg Biffle fan for a while. He came to a Rough and Rowdy large. Do you remember that?
Yes, he's one of our Rough and Rowdies.
Yeah. So and I saw one of the NASCAR, I think it was Jeff Gluck, posted a screenshot of a screen recording rather of his Venmo, and he just scrolled, and it was all these people sending him money for helicopter fuel. I sent him a little bit as well, but I think it's great. He definitely well deserved. I mean, this is like, I say it all the time, but if I were in their shoes, I would be kind of like to think I'd be doing the same thing. But it's really just like the dream. Like these guys are NASCAR drivers, and now they just give back to the community in the coolest ways possible, doing like vigilante helicopter missions, rescuing people in need. So it's really just a great story, and I think Greg Biffle is deserving of all the flowers this week. I saw he was delivering, supplies, and he tried landing his helicopter like 6 or 7 times before he could finally make contact with this one person that was stranded. He's delivering Wi-Fi kits to people in rural impacted areas. He just seemed like all around like one of the coolest guys ever, and I'm glad he's, using his platform and resources for the betterment of things following an unfortunate situation. So yeah, well deserved.
And like I said, there is plenty of places for you to put your money to try and support people who are affected by the storm. And it looks like it's going to be a continual thing. A lot of times when a tragedy happens, the money flows in for the first week and then it kind of goes onto the back burner. And these people who need to reconstruct their lives are kind of left out in the cold. I remember my dad had just retired. He was a structural steel guy. My dad's one of those guys who crawls around on the iron 80 stories up. He's a man's man. Unlike me, I can't drive a fucking nail. And then when 9/11 happened, my dad was retired, 2 fake knees, 2 fake hips, and he went right down there to operate heavy machinery to go and look for bodies and stuff like that. So you see like these older guys who come out of the woodwork, and I don't know, it just built different and 100% deserving kudos. I almost went with Darlington Raceway just because I think, old school Darlington, America's, first fucking original super speedway. They opened up their East Campground as a safe destination for individuals who are trying to get out of Florida now or who are trying to get away from what had happened in North Carolina. So you can camp at Darlington Raceway at their, inside their infield, and they have the showers open and all that kind of stuff for people who just need to, escape these storms. So everyone's kind of been doing stuff. I know Moonhead has been doing stuff. Caleb, I seen, is going to be hosting some sort of charity concert. With
by the way, 4 of the best artists ever. Did you see who it was?
It's like Luke, right? It's like Luke Combs is up there.
Luke Combs, Billy Strings, who's one of the best guitarists on earth, in my opinion. James Taylor, who has the song "In My Mind, I'm Gone to Carolina." Great song. And then Eric Church as well. So Luke Combs, Eric Church, Billy Strings, James Taylor, and all the proceeds go to helping with rebuilding North Carolina and those impacted. It's October 26th at Bank of America Stadium. So check it out, concertforcarolina.com. I like to assume a large part of our audience is listening from the state of North Carolina, or at least somewhere near it, given the NASCAR ties. But
yeah.
So yeah, it seems like everyone's kind of contributing in their own mind, which hopefully will help. But yeah, it's great to see.
What are you doing, Moonhead? I had seen something. You had something where 100 people. What was it again?
Well, so we've got the deal with Huffman where they're raffling off a trip to Gatlinburg and doing a tasting at the distillery and all that.
That's right.
Yeah, and then Mooncar, we're raising money for an animal shelter that got like wiped away with the floods and all that, and they're trying to rebuild.
By the way, you'd be fucked if you tried to get to Darlington because they're allowing pets, but they're not allowing livestock. So I think Spanky kind of walks that line, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think they'd let him in.
Yeah, they should make an exception.
No, I'd write the nastiest fucking letter. See, that's what's wrong with NASCAR, and that's what's wrong with Moonhead. Yeah, you're not allowed to have any farm animals, but we're going to make an exception for fucking
What
Spanky.
about, what's his name?
You got to show the rule and fucking enforce the rule, Moonhead.
Large, what's his name had a primate in the car with him. You're telling me we can't have Spanky in the infield?
Yeah, Jocko Flacco?
Yeah.
I hear you. But either way, it's dire situations, and it's not getting any easier. I'm hearing that this next storm that's going to ravage Florida is going to be a honey of one, too. So hoping everybody is safe down there. And before we get the podcast going, this will be dropping on Thursday, the 10th of October, which happens to be Dale Jr.'s happy birthday. So happy birthday to Dale Jr. I included a picture of Dale Jr., one of my favorite pictures of all time, standing next to Moonhead at some event. Looks like it's Comic-Con. Oh, no, wait, no, that's the Hall of Fame. That's an
iRacing event, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I said Comic-Con just because I saw the fucking Hornet in back, but that's at the Hall of Fame, the circular track, right, that goes around it, and it's just, I don't know, it's tough. I've seen you smile a million times, just never on fucking camera, Moonhead. So happy birthday to Dale Jr.
Fun
DMs.
fact, by the way.
Go, please.
Spanky's birthday is the 10th as well, so Spanky and Dale share a birthday. Yeah.
Holy shit, I would have led with that. Right?
Yeah, I know. I should have let you in on that before we started recording, but that's a little fun fact not a lot of people know.
All right, we'll let him into Darlington for a couple
Happy
hours.
birthday,
Then kick his
Spanky.
fat ass out. Yeah. I spoke last week about Carl Edwards and the mystique surrounding the man. I got a couple of DMs. A lot of them were about Carl Edwards. I'm going to read you 2 of them. Fitz, after I compared Carl Edwards to Chuck Norris, he says, listening to this week's podcast, I think a good comparison for Carl Edwards is actually the original Dalton from Roadhouse, the Patrick Swayze one. Total badass, simple lifestyle, can do backflips and shit, and probably knows some form of martial arts. I'll take that. I'll take a fucking Patrick Swayze for Carl Edwards. And then the second guy, Brandon, had sent in, I'll give you a good current comp for Carl Edwards. I think it's Russ Chastain. Farmer, kind of hard worker guy off the track, can be really nice, or a real douchebag. And his signature celebration, backflip versus the watermelon, sort of resembles Carl Edwards. So Russ Chastain, perhaps the modern day Carl Edwards, according to Brandon. We agree with that or not?
Yeah, I'd probably side more with Brandon only because, and I don't know, it sounds like everything he says checks out. I think Ross can be, the best guy on the track, or it can be the biggest villain depending on where you sit. And they both did have kind of trademark celebrations, so I see kind of a lot of parallels. Although, like I said last week, I was not watching Carl Edwards, in the midst of his, prime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when we take people who don't know NASCAR and we always tell them to find somebody to root for. I think a lot of times I recommend Ross because he's always in contention.
He seems to be popular for a lot of new people we take. You're right.
Yeah, and the merch is fire, as the kids say now. Straight flames, perhaps, no cap. So it's good. What do you think, Moon?
I would agree with that. I think Ross is a little more aggressive with his driving style right out of the gate. But all things considered, I would, if I had to pick one driver, I think to compare to Carl now, I've never thought about it like that, but there actually are a lot of correlations that I never thought about.
Yeah. Yeah. I always, I think we had said, we tried to make that connection with with Harvick gone. Like, who do Harvick guys then go to root for, who sort of is in that same vein as Kevin Harvick? So, but I haven't done it with Carl Edwards. So yeah, I'll take Ross. I think it's a good one from Brandon. We have a lot of headlines that had hit since the last time that we had taped. The least important one is that Phoenix Raceway announced that diamond-selling multi-platinum and Grammy Award-winning rapper Nelly will perform at the NASCAR Cup Series Championship race on November 10th in Phoenix. I've only been to one football game in Las Vegas. And by the way, I love that place to go. I saw a hockey game at T-Mobile out there. Wonderful atmosphere. I went to go see a throwaway NFL game. Great atmosphere. And then Nelly performed at halftime, and he brought the fucking house down. You good with this, Spider? If we go out to Phoenix, and I don't know if we're going or not, but if we go out to Phoenix, you excited about Nelly?
Yeah, I think Nelly's pretty good. I mean, he's got a couple hit songs. Granted, he's been a while since he's really been put out popular new music, but I don't know. Ride With Me, I feel like, is a classic song. So I think compared to I would be more excited about him than a guy like what's that, Applebee's guy?
Oh God,
you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one they had at Dega.
Yeah, that guy just seemed. I mean, nice guy. We met him, but his songs just kind of seem like
they suck.
He makes jingles, is what it is.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's crazy.
We did. Where were we? Charlotte. They did Matchbox 20. And
I like them.
I thought they did a good job, and I think it's because they're older and people have some, recognition to them. And I think Nelly's going to be the same way, particularly when he hits the "I drive fast, call me Jeff Gordon." Right? Like, can you get Jeff Gordon up there for that? That'd be, because that'd be kind of cool, right? Or at least give him a fucking point, because Jeff can't be up on stage dancing. It would look very, very uncomfortable. But they got to do something for it, right?
He should perform "Ride With Me" from a car, riding around the track.
Yeah, in a black SS with the navigation. Anyway, so Nelly's going to be at the championship race if you need another reason to get out there to Phoenix. But the biggest headline in the world of NASCAR since the last time we spoke is that Denny and MJ are suing NASCAR. I listened to Actions Detrimental this week just to kind of they did some topic wheel because they had so much to talk about as well. And the first thing that they had tackled or tried to tackle was this. I don't know if we're intelligent enough to speak on this shit. And it's going to be a year or 2 year process. According to Denny, I believe he said that in Actions this week. I can't even get my mind around what's going to be the end game with this. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a settlement where the teams just get more money and NASCAR's like, we're not going to open up our books, but we will carve you off more of the TV revenues, or if they're going to try and really, I don't know, burn this thing to the ground. So there's a lot of wait and see here. Can you even guess, Spider? Is there some? I can understand the basis of the lawsuit, that if the teams make more money, it would even do something that we spoke about last week. We wouldn't be hiring drivers just because of the sponsorship that they bring. We can actually hire drivers who are truly talented. And that's not calling out any one name at all, but it just might improve the quality of the sport from that perspective. And then Kyle Larson had chimed in at some point last week saying how, NASCAR is one of the only professional sports where its employees have made less money year over year for the past couple of years. So it seems like there is something fundamentally broken there. I don't know exactly how they're going to fix it. Is there any guessing that we can do this, or is it just a total wait and see for our little podcast and everybody else who loves NASCAR?
I'm not privy enough about the situation and the ins and outs, and I didn't read the court documents and everything. From where I sit and what I understand, 2311 and Front Row and Michael Jordan and their collective funding hired one of the best sports lawyers ever. The guy has negotiated several collective bargaining agreements for different sports leagues, as well as NCAA athletic conferences, etc. The list goes on and on. UFC. I feel like for that reason, it is in NASCAR's best interest to probably just bend the knee. And I know they've been so firm that they're not gonna, but I really think that's the solution. A year or two process to me is just a dark cloud hanging over the sport, kind of, in a way where it's just kind of settle your differences, get in a room, put your heads together. Before, it seemed kind of like these teams were at gunpoint, sign this now. Yeah. Whereas I understand why now there's a larger discussion to be had, but I think it's in everyone's best interest to find a happy medium. And I think that starts with NASCAR probably giving the teams what they want a little bit more of. I do agree with Denny. I don't know if he said it on the most recent episode or one of them in the past, but I'm of the opinion that NASCAR should be receptive and kind of responsive to a team like 2311 that's going to invest heavily in their charter system and say, hey, we want to be competitive in your sport and build and grow and position themselves to do so, whether it be buying additional charters for future drivers or building brand new spaceship headquarters. I think you should encourage teams to want to build and grow in your sport and not kind of limit them. So, again, I don't necessarily understand everything in full detail, but from where I sit and what I understand, I think NASCAR should just give them a little bit more. I think everyone could eat. There's room for everyone to eat.
Moon, what do you think from your legal perspective, your expert legal mind? The three legal minds here that could power a fucking small match. What do you think?
Yeah, from the outside looking in, the basis of it, I agree with Spider that it certainly appears that the teams are getting their all end of this deal, and I think that there is enough money that could go around. That being said, I think all the people involved in this are way smarter than me, and there's probably pieces to this puzzle that we don't even know about, we haven't seen. I don't know what it costs to operate NASCAR per year. I'm sure it's a lot of money. And I'm sure I know it's a lot of money for these guys to operate race teams, and they're not seeing the money that they feel like they need to be efficient. And going back to the driver's salary, I do think that if the teams started getting more money, they could pay drivers more and not have to rely on maybe drivers who bring sponsorship with them, who are willing to take a little bit less money. Because I think, that's been a problem in the sport for 10 or more years now, where we see veteran drivers basically being forced to either go race shit boxes or retire. And some of them go race shit boxes and kind of fall off into obscure ends of their career. And then some of them just call it quits. Matt Kenseth was kind of getting run out of Gibbs at the time. And I feel like he could have kept winning races. He won his second to last full-time race. So I think, from the outside looking in, I'm going to have to side with Denny in Front Row and Michael Jordan. And I think, at the end of the day, it's Michael Jordan kind of leading the charge on this. He's got experience across the board. He's obviously a very smart businessman, especially when it comes to the sports side of things. This ain't his first rodeo. He knows how these things are supposed to work. So I don't know. It's going to be, I hope they get it resolved sooner than later, because it's not a good look, I feel like, for anyone involved. It's going to create an unnecessary headache for Front Row and 2311. And while this is going on, any bad luck that they have, everybody's going to sit there and be like, oh, are they being sabotaged because they're standing up to NASCAR? So I think that all parties involved probably want this resolved sooner than later, but it also looks like it's probably going to be a few years before we really get the answers that we're looking for. Because I saw today that they're already filing to try to be treated as chartered teams next year in the middle of all this. So that tells me they expect it to at least take till 2026 for all this to be resolved.
Yeah, if it's going to be a long legal battle, I think the injunction will be granted for them to, even though they weren't able to sign it. We're only hearing one side of this story, though, I think. I have an easy time rooting against Michael Jordan as a guy who had season tickets to the Knicks in the mid-'90s, right? Like, so when I watched The Last Dance, I was like, oof, he was such a fucking scumbag. I didn't think they did that enough there. I will also tell you the attorney that they hired, and I probably should be very careful when I say this, seems like an absolute douchebag. But he seems like he's awesome. Like, he's the type of guy that can get you whatever the fuck you want. I almost would pay that guy to go away. Like, you know what I mean? He seems like one of those guys, so extremely effective. But, man, I have a tough time rooting for that asshole either. I would wish that NASCAR could sort of give their side of the story, which I know maybe they'll have to do in small increments because this was the attack on them and they can levy their counterattack at some point. I would like to see NASCAR's response to this because I think people just automatically say, oh, they make all the money and the drivers don't make shit. And meanwhile, people put up pictures of Denny's house. I think he might have put in another helipad, like all this kind of stuff. It doesn't seem like I would like full, again, we're going to talk about transparency a lot on this podcast, just to see like NASCAR saying, no, this is what we're using the money towards, as opposed to just giving it to you. And if we weren't doing that, there wouldn't be any fucking NASCAR, like to justify how it is right now. And maybe that would be an eye opener for people. So until we get all that kind of shit from both sides, I guess we just have to wait and see. But I hope it doesn't fuck with the week to week racing, even though we only have 5 weeks left in this season. The second one, for as far as transparency and consistency, the damaged vehicle policy, they have to start doing something a little bit more consistent than that. And because they're going to be put in a situation where they are going to choose Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, I think Harrison Burton was also towed back. They're not going to choose a 2311 car, and that's going to blow up the fucking internet. Like, you know what I mean? NASCAR chooses not to tow the guy who's suing him back to the garage. Like, all of this stuff is going to be seen through different glasses, as Moonhead had alluded to, until this thing has some degree of closure, or it just gets put so far on the back burner that people don't care about it anymore, because we all know that the viewing public has the retention of a goldfish. So, we'll wait to see what the fuck goes on with this stuff, and I hope it comes sooner rather than later. I don't know what else to say about the damaged vehicle policy, because I think it's all common sense. Got to stick to what you do. If you want to change it in the off season, that's great. But if you want to change it, mid playoffs, you got to pull every driver into that drivers meeting and say, hey, by the way, we've kind of fucked up with maybe what we did with Blaney or with Berry. So we're going to, go back to seeing if we can get these cars back into pit row on tow trucks. But they didn't do anything like that. So the randomness of it is not going to sit well with most people, and it certainly hasn't this week. Great week of racing anyway, right? We had the triple header this week. The Friday race was an afternoon race because Talladega doesn't have any lights, so it was kind of weird. It was like 1:30 in the afternoon on a Friday. But Grant Enfinger locked up his championship 4 spot with his victory at Friday afternoon at Talladega. I don't know a lot about him. I was rooting for him last year because he's one of the older guys. I think he's almost 40. And he also comes from Fairhope, Alabama, which is kind of down in that Floribama, Destin, mullet tossing, Gulf of Mexico area. It's the same place where Jimmy Buffett grew up, so I kind of like him. But a reason I mention is going to be no trucks for the next 2 weeks. Next time we're going to see a truck race is going to be 1026 in Homestead in Miami, and Spider and I will be in attendance. Over in Xfinity, I don't know if you guys had watched the race. Sammy Smith survives at a Wreckfest that we wouldn't see again until the following day. And he was a 12 seed. So Sammy Smith was that 12 seed who's now locked himself into the round of 8 with that last lap pass. It was the only lap he led all day. More importantly, Shane Van Gisbergen crashed, so he finished 35th. That dropped him 9 points from 9 points above the cutoff to 10 points below. So Shane Van Gisbergen is dangerously close to being eliminated from the playoffs, going into the Roval, which is one of his specialties, but going up against AJ Allmendinger, who has only been at the Roval 4 times, and he's won all fucking 4 times. That sets up a really cool matchup this weekend, don't you think?
That's going to be awesome. But I back to the Xfinity race this past weekend at Talladega. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
One of my favorite storylines was 8th place finish David Starr. He 56-year-old driver was emotional on pit road after winning the thing. Just beautiful moment. Happy for him. And I mean, the tweet Toby Christie sent said Talladega is the ultimate underdog playground. And on Saturday, there may not have been a bigger underdog than David Starr. I think that's spot on, and to see his reaction was just a beautiful moment. So congrats to David, and unreal weekend of racing. So top to bottom was thoroughly entertained.
And other side of the spectrum, from an old guy doing well, Jesse Love was pole sitter. I think he finished P6 or something. So we continue to be impressed by Jesse Love. Only other thing from Saturday's race, Sam Mayer. After finishing 16th in Saturday's race, he'll be credited with a last place finish because his car failed post-race inspection for being too low in the rear. Much like me, Junior Motorsports is appealing the disqualification of Sam Mayer, so maybe we'll get some sort of news. But we're taping today on Wednesday, and no kind of news about that just yet. Let's get to Cup. McDowell started on the pole. And by the way, I didn't mention this at the top of the show. We have no Quiggs here today, right? Quiggs is not in today. He's what does he do? He's a fluffer for Tim Waltz, right, or something like that on the campaign trail, I believe. Yeah. So no Quiggs today, but we do have Ricky Stenhouse. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who had won this week. Now that we're going to start talking about the Cup, is in the house. He's not in the house. He's going to be on Zoom, but we're going to have him up here in a couple of seconds to talk about some shit as well. But the Cup Series race on Sunday. Michael McDowell is starting on the pole. Playoff drivers didn't qualify well outside of Cindric, who was P2, and Blaney, who was P5, but otherwise there was nothing really to speak about. McDowell led the most laps of the day, but he was caught in the big wreck on lap 184, and he wound up finishing 37th. Talk to me about the big one. Whose fault was it that we got 28 cars? Some people are saying 23, but either way, biggest wreck in NASCAR history. Whose fault was that wreck, guys?
Probably... I don't know if I could put it on Todd Gilliland.
Yeah, because all right. So Todd
Gilliland,
he
was
yes.
the kind of the spark that triggered the flame,
right.
And then there was an explosion thereafter. But I don't know if it's his fault. It seemed like just a chain reaction to his merging back on the track following his penalty. So I don't know, just an unfortunate situation, but it led to a crazy wreck. It was hard to believe that was the biggest wreck in NASCAR history.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was it hard to believe? I couldn't believe what I was seeing at the same time. So,
but don't you think over the long storied history, though, Spider, that you would have had a race where only 2 cars finished, like something out of the ordinary at Bristol, where it got hit by lightning and 30 cars got eliminated.
What about when they used to have like way more cars in the field?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've seen videos of some wrecks that were.
Bigger,
pretty damn big. I mean, 28 cars is a lot, but I feel like I've seen some 30+ car pileups.
Yeah. So, but they kept saying it. Like, right. I mean, they kept.
You know how the media is.
Ever. Yeah, exactly. And they just won it for the season. Closest finish ever. Biggest wreck ever. What didn't 2024 have? Stenhouse punches Bush. All this kind of shit. Somebody's getting sued, so it's like a real wild type situation this season. But. Kudos to NASCAR. Nobody went airborne, right? I mean, they put all the fins and all this kind of shit on it. So, and that costs money to do. I don't know when NASCAR is going to reveal all this stuff, but kudos to them for keeping the drivers relatively safe, even though it was fucking huge. A lot of people were blaming Brad, but Brad got shoved by Joey. It's tough. It's tough to point the finger when you're, 4 wide and 6 cars deep, But either way, it was a big one and involved anywhere from 23 to 28 cars, dealt a number of playoff drivers damage, including Suarez, Elliott, Briscoe, Cindric, and Logano. But at the end of the day, Ricky Stenhouse gets his 4th career victory, all on super speedways. My only critique of it was that he did it in the Palmolive car. It's my least favorite Ricky Stenhouse scheme. He's got so many great
what is
ones.
that, soap?
Yeah, Palmolive. Yeah, Palmolive's been around since I used to trade Colgate Palmolive. The soap itself has been around for probably 130 years or so, and the name Palmolive comes from the two oils that were used to make the original soap, palm oil and olive oil. So that's where they got the name. A little tidbit from Large right there. But just the green Palmolive one, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me, as opposed to the English Muffin and all the other shit that he runs. But congratulations to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Brad Daugherty and that whole team, obviously, and we're going to have him on in a couple of minutes. Was it a good race? I go to Jeff Gluck's poll every week. 65% said it was a good race. That seems unbelievably low to me. Do you guys agree? Like, did everyone enjoy that race as much as I did?
I thought it was a great race, and it was another one we had a elite photo finish almost. The margin of win was another very, very close one, which I think only adds to the excitement we've seen this year. So I was impressed, happy with it, entertained, all of those things. And, I mean, I know there's probably a lot of people voting for that way because of the result. Like, they probably wanted someone else to win or a different result or something. But even the result itself I was happy with, as a guy with Larson and Byron championship futures. Them finishing third and fourth was big, so we'll take it and move on. But yeah, I think overall, even if you weren't in that circumstance, it was still entertaining for everyone.
A Moonhead. I follow somebody, Team 54. I think you might follow him too, Spider. I don't know if you follow Moon, but they had said this: if you're watching to see carnage and be entertained exclusively, I'm sure you thought it was good. And if so, kudos to you. I'm happy you liked it. We need casual fans in the sport, which seems like a little bit of a shot at casual fans, but I don't take it as such, because I'm a casual fan, so I don't mind it. But then he said, but if you have any deeper knowledge of it beyond that, the clear answer should be no. People keep wondering why no one went with Kyle Busch at the end. It's pretty simple. A third lane never works when everyone is full throttle. That's why nobody moved at the end. You just locked in place. The next gen isn't good at Talladega. It's proven mediocre time and time again. If you're pointing at the four-wide first stage, sure, it was intense at home, but in reality, everyone was also at half throttle, so it looked more sketchy than it was. The moment everyone decided to go full throttle, the product really came back, make Talladega great again. How do you feel as a guy that's not a casual and hearing that and still enjoying the race, which I think you did enjoy the race, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I get some of the complaints. Obviously, the next gen hasn't been great on super speedways, but I mean, overall, I feel like that race still had a lot of what, Dega's kind of known for, with intense racing up at the front. Yeah, the fuel saving sucks. I'd love to see them do something. I don't know if they could shorten stages maybe, or maybe even make stages longer. I don't know how they could go about, or get rid of them completely, how they could go about fixing the fuel mileage deal. And yes, the car needs some work on the super speedways, but we were also spoiled right before the next gen era with the huge run Gen 6 package that was probably going to get and did get people hurt. So I think there's probably a middle ground that they can find. The thing I don't understand, I feel like the race is catching a lot of flack for the finish, when I feel like the playoff format played just as much of a role in the finish playing out the way it did as the car, because after a 30 car pile, or almost 30 car pileup that involved a lot of playoff guys, any remaining playoff guys that were left up there towards the front would be stupid to do anything to risk wrecking or pulling out or dropping like a rock. I mean, Kyle Busch, he had nothing to lose, so he went for it. Nobody went with him, and he dropped like a rock. So I think, Larson, Byron, all those guys up there who had a lot to lose and not really a whole lot to gain, played it safe. So I think if, playoffs were a little different, or that was even, just a completely different scenario, more playoff guys were in the race, maybe we see more guys make moves. But I don't know. I think the race was getting a lot of unnecessary hate. They were 3 wide across the line, photo finish. We had good racing. Yeah, the fuel saving probably manufactured some of the 4 wide, but even without the fuel saving, there were times when they were going wide open for stage wins that I was on the edge of my seat and thought it was exciting. So I don't know. I guess to each their own, but I think to say that only a casual would like that race is a little dumb.
And this isn't me shitting on, like, I'm telling you, follow Team 54. It's a good follow for me. And I think that I use this as an example just to show you how some people had judged it. I'm going to actually ask Ricky, because maybe I'm just that cat who sees the string and gets amazed by it, but I don't give a fuck if it's fuel conserving or not. 4 wide is fun to look at. And I wonder if being off the throttle a little bit, I can't tell that they're going 170 versus 200 miles an hour. I just can't. My naked eye can't discern that. So it looks like whatever they're doing 170 miles an hour, 4 wide and 6 deep, still looks very fucking difficult to me. And it sounds difficult as I'm saying it. So I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just not appreciating how much easier it is to do in fuel conservation mode. So I'm going to ask a driver in a couple of minutes. Fuck it, right? Go ahead, Spider. Did you say something?
No. I agree. I mean, I think the 4 wide was good. The only complaint I would really have is the fuel saving. You guys heard me ask Justin Haley last week about that, if we could expect that. He unfortunately confirmed that they would be doing it. I agree with Moonhead, though. I don't know what the solution to that is. But the other thing is, I don't think we should be trying to change super speedway racing that much. I mean, I think I don't know. We got a good formula going. I think the races have been good for the most part. And what do they say? Like, don't fix something that's not broken.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd hate to see them make more modifications only for it to get worse. So I think they just need to drop the hammer again, put the foot all the way to the floor and open them up. If they need to stop again, that's fine. But
yeah, I mean, horsepower, tower.
It should be mandatory wide open. You should get penalty if you're not. Right.
I'll tell you what, like Denny had said on his show, he was one of the luckiest guys in the world because he was a mile behind the wreck. He's the least. He felt like he was extremely unlucky to be where he was until all of a sudden the whole field was wiped out. So yeah, I thought it provided a little bit of everything. So I thought that it was a good race, and I'm trying to understand people who don't agree with it. What the fuck was Suarez doing? Did you catch that? I mean, we talk about, you mentioned Gilliland had slowed down and might have been, the reason that all that shit had happened so much later on lap whatever. But very early in the race, Suarez was going down a lap. He's also decides to, lay off on the throttle. Everyone starts passing him, and then inexplicably he tries to jump in front of my guy BJ McLeod, and BJ, obviously ran through him and, caused a wreck and the whole deal. I almost think like Daniel wanted a caution in order to stay on the lead lap. It seemed almost inexplicable to me. Did you guys happen to catch that?
I did not.
It was, I don't know. It just seemed like he fucked up. Can you explain that to me, Moonhead? What the fuck did he do?
So obviously they had the penalty for an unapproved adjustment. They had to pit, but there's a stage coming. Everybody's in the lead pack. They're more than likely not going to have a lot of people, if anyone else, go a lap down in stage one.
Right.
I don't know why he didn't. Once he split, I understood, I guess, the kind of being in the way and split in the middle, because he could be swallowed up by the pack, and then he's in the lead draft, and he don't have to worry about losing the draft again and potentially losing another lap. All that was fine with me. I cannot wrap my head around why he made such an aggressive move trying to get up there to the outside, because it just, to me, that screwed his whole race. It went from a little less than ideal with the early race penalty that they were easily going to recover from to race over on like lap 6 or whatever it was. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. So I know obviously we're not going to have Daniel on this show. I won't ask Ricky about it, but it baffled me. And also I'm wondering, at the end of the race, it was Larson behind Brad Kay and Byron behind Ricky, and Byron did a better job giving Ricky a push, and Tyler Mon, I believe, who we've mentioned a couple of times. By the way, spotters get a lot of press nowadays. They give him a lot of press on the broadcast, inside and out, which is great for Freddie Kraft, who from what I understand is one of the worst spotters in the world. I hope he clipped that out and show that to him. But they're getting a lot of it, and so Tyler said, "Do not push that forward to the win." And it seemed like maybe Larson didn't do that. Did anybody else see that? Is there something to it that Larson did the right thing for Team Chevy, for manufacturer points and all that stuff, and kind of inadvertently fucked Brad out of getting a win?
I don't know. Part of me likes to think that on that last restart, even watching William Byron, who I gave out on the show to win outright, it seemed like Byron and Larson were instructed to just kind of like stay where they were at, play it safe kind of shit. I forget which one of you just said it, but like there's nothing to really be gained by making an aggressive risk.
Moon.
Yeah, whereas if they just were conservative with the race finish, they already made it through the big wreck. At that point, just get playoff points. And what happened, William Byron is now first in playoff points. So I don't know. Part of me feels like they were just kind of like holding their position. I'm not going to read too much into it. I don't think this is like a Parker Retzlaff situation. Who knows, though? I could be mistaken. There could be more beneath the surface, but I didn't read too much into it.
You know what's good about it is that we can ask Ricky Stenhouse in a couple of minutes.
That's right.
Hey, that's one of the benefits of being such a popular NASCAR podcast. I got two random stats for you guys today. The first one is from our guy NASCAR Chasm. I think that's another great follow, obviously, for people who aren't following him yet. He does tweets, like fake tweets after the race, too. They put it up on NASCAR.com. I think he's very, very funny. He says, Brad K has 4 P2 finishes this year, but Sheldon Creed has 6. So even in the race to have the most second-place finishes, Brad K will finish in second place. That's, kissing your sister. The second one I think is better. After Ricky's win at Talladega, the 2024 Cup Series season has produced 18 different winners. We had 19 in 2022, which tied an all-time record. Do we beat it this year? We only have 5 races left, but we have a lot of guys who are capable of winning races still winless in 2024. So do you guys think that we get to at least 19 different winners, or maybe even have a record-setting 20 different winners in a NASCAR Cup Series season this year? And do you think that it's good for NASCAR? Because by doing that, spreading the love, we're not getting a situation where we have somebody win 10 times in a season. And I'm not talking about, way back when Richard Petty won 27 races back in 1967, but like when Jeff Gordon had won 10 in 96 or Jimmy Johnson won 10 in 2007. Those days might be over, right? Because we're spreading the love a little bit. Is that good or bad for NASCAR? Because we're not creating those godlike figures like a Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, or Richard Petty.
I think it's great, Large. I think it's great. I also have another stat that I want to throw at you.
Please.
But a different team has shout out Asteroid4914 on Twitter. A different team has won every NASCAR Cup race since the Olympic break. Richmond was RCR, Michigan 2311, Daytona Wood Brothers, Darlington Stewart-Haas Racing, Atlanta Penske, RFK won at Watkins Glen, Bristol was won by Hendrick, Kansas Trackhouse, Talladega, JTG. Could it be next
That's
week?
Exactly the same thing.
Joe Gibbs Racing? It was not named there. Are they next?
Oh, that's going to be for picking the tires. Look at Spider playing a fucking little long game on that. But that's the same thing, right? So if we're spreading the love between all these teams and all these drivers, do you like it, Spider, or do you want that superhero season to come out where Kyle Larson wins 11 races?
No, I prefer the 11 different teams win races, if possible, because, to me, a good season would be one where you win maybe 4 or 5 times tops. Like, if 11-win season is just F1, if I want to watch that, I'll just, I'll wake up earlier and start watching that. I think there needs to be parity. I think we're at a good spot in terms of spreading the wealth in terms, not financially speaking, we just spoke on that. I mean sharing the wealth in terms of success on track with results and winning, because I think it's good. Even some teams, some underdog teams, even if it be at plate tracks like Wood Brothers and JTG winning, it's still good to have those wins, and everyone's kind of been successful. Even you got Stewart-Haas in there, you got RFK. I don't know. It's great to see all these different teams winning, I think.
What do you think, Moon?
I think it's a great thing. I think there's years, it's different. Some years we have years where a whole shitload of people win, and then some years one guy dominates, and then some years we've seen, like with the big 3 a few years ago, where 3 guys just dominate the whole season. But I definitely don't think it's a bad thing. I think that this will be a season that we look back on, even though I saw on Twitter somebody was complaining about there being so many winners and said it was a bad thing. And I think that kind of proves that NASCAR fans will complain about literally anything, because I feel like 10 years from now, we're going to look back on 2024 and see the photo finish, see how many drivers won, see how many non-playoff drivers won in the playoffs. I think that's a big thing people aren't really talking about, that usually we get to playoff time and it's playoff guys kicking ass week in and week out. And maybe one guy will sneak one in at Talladega or maybe on a road course or something. But I feel like this year, with Chris Buescher, Stenhouse, and Chastain already, and we're heading into the Roval, where I feel like it's not too far-fetched to think we're going to have someone new come in and win there. I think it's great. I think it's great for the sport. I think that, I don't think every year is going to be like this. I don't think that even next year might be like this with how teams figure things out as they go. But I definitely think we should appreciate the year we've got. And it's definitely not a bad thing for NASCAR when there's weeks where literally 20 guys could show up and have a chance to win.
So we're one win away from tying history and 2 wins away by drivers who haven't won already of making history. Do you think we make that, Spider and Moon? Do you think we get the 19th and 20th? Because who hasn't won yet this season? Who could easily win a race? Martin, Kyle Busch, Ty. I mean, there's so many people out there who could legitimately win a race. Not even looking at people who may be more road course specialists or whatever we have coming up, short track specialists, whatever we have coming up in the schedule. Do you think we get to that 19 or 20?
I do. I think we will. I don't know. There's just been so much. Even in the playoff races, I always feel like it's going to be a playoff driver, and it really hasn't been that way for at least a few of them. So I think for that reason, it's going to continue to be kind of the unpredictable nature of what we've seen.
I think I want it to go back. I want to and maybe to Munad's point, maybe every other year we just or every couple of years we do have somebody do that breakout win 7. Because the beginning of the season where William Byron was tearing off 3 wins in a month, and then Denny started to tear off 3. Like, I thought we were going to have one of those dominant 6-7 win seasons from particularly those 2 guys, and maybe even Larson, which we haven't gotten yet. So I don't know. Do you think we break the record this year, Moon? I mean, I think see what we got.
It's a very good chance because, like you said, Ty Gibbs, you got Truex. Outside the playoffs, you got Bubba, Kyle Busch, and then we're heading to the Roval. Guys like McDowell are good there. Obviously, Allmendinger's coming back. And then just down the list, there's miscellaneous people that we've seen.
SVG?
SVG. We've seen several guys show flashes of greatness this year who, I could see coming out of the gate one of these weeks, whether it's the Roval or one of the other races, and having a good run. And it only takes, it's NASCAR. We see how crazy things can get at the end. All it takes is another Nashville-like situation. Zane Smith was one. If Joey Logano didn't save all that fuel or have the fuel mileage he did, Zane Smith wins Nashville. And up until that point, he had not been a factor all year, and that seemingly turned his whole season around. So I think there's plenty of guys who could get it done, and I think if there was ever a year we were going to break the record, I think this one we've got the best shot.
Cool. I was trying to do an over-under for this week, and I think the glaring under probably is Team Penske because all 3 drivers wrecked, and Blaney's the only one above the cut line now. I was trying to find overs, but can you really give too much kudos to like Eric Jones for the P5? I know Quiggs wouldn't do that. Justin Haley, who was nice enough to come on the show last week. Thank you again to Justin Haley. But I think he came in 7th, and even Austin Dillon with a P8. So all these guys in the top 10. Can you give them too many fucking flowers, Spider, which is a term you like to use when most of the field had wrecked?
Honestly, no. Part of the art to racing at Talladega or Daytona, in my opinion, is being able to survive. And obviously, that's very hard to do, especially when the whole field wrecks. But I think you have to give credit where credit's due. Even if you're way in the back, Denny Hamlin or Eric Jones, and somehow get through it, there's an art to that, especially as a guy that's been doing a whole lot of iRacing. If you're running in the back and the seas part in front of you and you sneak by some guys, that's part of the art of super speedway racing, in my opinion. So keeping it clean, keeping it on the track, and just waiting for the big one to happen, staying out of it, is half the game. So I would say those guys deserve more maybe.
I love how Spider now talks about it as if he's a driver also.
Yeah.
When I'm Irish, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, I know the struggles, man. I
Yeah,
get it.
it's relatable.
Yeah. All right. So to put a bow on this week, I think there's no better way to do it than to talk to the guy who had won, and that's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So we're about to go 3 wide with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It's brought to you guys by Cars.com. Cars.com, buying a car is awful. We all know that. Buying a car is not normally the greatest experience in the world. And a lot of times, even finding somebody that you trust to sell you the car is the first hurdle that you have to cross. And Cars.com can help out. So if you want to find a trustworthy dealer, dealership reviews from shoppers like you, Cars.com offers the latest research, shopping tools, and dealership reviews to help every shopper find the perfect car. You can shop by monthly payment or filter by features to find the cars that fit your budgets and needs. I went on the thing the other day, Cars.com, to be honest with you, it was my first time going on it just to look through. And it is, first of all, it's idiot-proof, and it's extremely, extremely informative. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're going shopping for a car without going to Cars.com first. So visit Cars.com and start exploring your next possibility today. And with that, let's talk to Ricky Stenhouse. Hey, everybody. So as promised, we're here with our most recent winner in the NASCAR Cup Series playoff. It's one of our favorite guys. It's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. The last time we had him in, it was right after he had won the Daytona 500, and he came in with the Rollie and with the new ring and the Rollie's being represented again and the gigantic trophy. So it's always been real positive. So when we speak to Ricky, and this time obviously is no exception. Ricky, can I ask you a question? How the hell did you survive? And I mean, in the race car, how did you manage to keep the course when Cindric had knocked into you? It seemed like everybody traveling at that speed in and around the big one is almost like hypersensitive the cars are. You got one where it essentially drilled a hole in the side of your door, and you maintained that integrity and you kept going. How the hell did that happen when it didn't happen to anybody else who was involved?
Yeah, I actually, about 10 minutes ago, finally went back and watched that wreck. Sitting in the seat, I'm just driving down the backstretch. We had already passed the lap car that we were trying to pass. And so I was like, all right, everything's good. We're just going along here. And then all of a sudden, bam, I just get, T-boned out of the side, and I was not expecting it, at all. Luckily, he hit me so center of the door that I felt like it just moved my car up. Like it didn't get it sideways or, anything like that. So I think that's how I survived it, is it just literally just moved me up a lane, and then, I just kept going, and then, man, they took everybody else with them.
Were you tempted with the hole in the door to pull out Joey Logano's illegal glove and then maybe give yourself a little extra, almost like the Flintstones with the foot out the side of the car? That didn't affect any way. Obviously, people make a big deal out of it, just like they make a big deal out of everything on NASCAR Twitter. Oh, a door had a hole in it, all that stuff. But talk to me about that. Were you surprised when you got out and you saw that this thing had basically, it reminded me of going ice fishing. It almost augured a little bit of holes for you to go do a little ice fishing. How'd you feel when you got out of the car and you realized the extent of that little damage?
Well, I knew it was a hard hit, when I was, in the car, but, I still didn't think it was, kind of ripped open like it was.
Right.
Our fans on social media, they know everything. And, I think for me, I got out and, the door bars were bent on the inside. It was a big shot. So that center section is probably going to be trash after this, but, at least we got to win with it. But if I would have had Joey's glove, I definitely probably would have used it, but I didn't have that with me.
I'll send you one. I made up a bunch of them. I thought they were going to sell like hotcakes, and now I'm sitting on a shitload. I can't get rid of them. I know you say the fans know everything, particularly guys on Twitter. There's things that we don't know anymore. So my question to you is, if you go into this weekend at the Roval and, God forbid, you have an accident where your car can no longer start, are you going to pull a Briscoe and say, I'm not leaving? Fuck you, don't touch my window net. I'm not leaving, like Wolf of Wall Street type stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, that DVP now is a little bit murky. We don't know where we stand.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's definitely been times that, no matter what wreck you get in, we're always trying to drive it back. For one, we don't want to ride in the ambulance, to the infield care center. That's not a fun ride. So, we're always trying to, make it back to pit road so that we can, get our guys to look at it. And then, our guys tell us, hey, we're good or no, we're not. Like at Watkins Glen, I got in that first lap wreck and I came in the pits. My guys, looked everything over. I went back out and I'm like, guys, something's still wrong. Came back in. They're like, yep, we're done. But I would try my hardest to stay in the car for sure. No doubt.
Right. Because I think that might make the difference now until we get something.
Well, especially for,
concrete.
Briscoe, he's trying to, he's in the playoffs. He's trying to move on to the next round and, every point counts. And, for us, we're trying to move up in the point standings and, every point counts for us as well. So the further we move up, the more money our team makes. So, everything counts and I would definitely stay in as long as I could.
Yeah, everything counts. You're the 18th winner this season, right? And so it's not a record yet, but we're closing in on the record. Do you think
is the record?
Let me see. I have it in my. Why would you call me out on that?
Sorry, you just said it wasn't a record.
I don't know what it is. You know that sometimes I bullshit like I know more than I know. Hold on one sec. I have it in here. You
I'm supposed to answer questions, not
After
ask
Ricky's
questions,
win at
right?
Talladega Super Speedway, the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series has produced 18 different winners. We had 19 in 2022, which tied the all-time record. Do you think we beat that this year? And is it good for NASCAR? Are the days of one driver winning 10 races in a season over? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know we're not talking about Richard Petty winning 27 races back in 67, but Jeff Gordon won 10 in 1996. Jimmy Johnson won 10 in 2007. Are those days over? And is that good for NASCAR? I like seeing people spread the love and all of a sudden get to see people we normally wouldn't see. But what do you think as a fan and as a driver? Is it better to have 18 winners, 19, 20 winners in a year?
I think it's good. I think, for me, that just means it's competitive, right? You got more people with an opportunity to win. And so I think Larson in 2021 maybe won like 10 or 11 races. That was a dominant year. I think right now it seems like, 3 wins is a lot in a season with how competitive, it is week in and week out. Now, for me, I'm glad there was an 18th different winner. I'm glad that we were able to accomplish that. I do think there could be 19. I don't know about 20. I think this weekend could be pretty telling if we get 19 or have a shot at 20. I think there's a few guys that haven't won this season that will have a really good opportunity at the Roval this weekend.
So is the short answer large? I don't care if 8 or 18 win as long as I'm one of them? Is that the short
As long as I'm one of them, preferably before the playoffs would be nice.
Right.
But, it is what it is. I'll take a win anytime.
Can you talk to me then about this weekend? Because there's so much being talked about with the reconfigure. It's just a lot of questions around how it's going to be with the new tire and the reconfiguration at the Roval. Talk to me about the Roval. Almost do my job for me and preview what we're going to see here this weekend. It's one of my least favorite tracks just because there's this big, beautiful oval that I love watching you guys go around on, and they sort of put a Roval in there and ruin it for me a little bit. So, and that's just personal, but how do you feel about the track and what can we expect to see with that reconfig?
I feel that personal belief with you. So, Charlotte Motor Speedway is such a great facility, and I think it's one of our better mile-and-a-half racetracks that we have. And so I'm always bummed that we end up running the road course on the inside. The one cool thing about the Roval is it does have elevation. There's a lot of racetracks that have a road course in the middle that is just flat, like back when we ran at Indy. So I do like at least there's some elevation. There is some really, really tricky spots to this racetrack where you can press the issue just a little too much and overstep it and get yourself in trouble. So it's tricky. That new corner is very tight. It's a kind of a narrow straightaway. It opens up so that you could be, 5, 6, maybe 7 wide, it looks like, but then all of a sudden you got to, make a very tight corner. So restarts are going to be wild right there, I feel like. But it is another braking zone and a passing zone. the way it was configured before, I felt like, it definitely wasn't a passing zone, that corner anyway. So it'll be wild. Be interesting watching that Xfinity race. I think a lot of us are going to be kind of studying, seeing how that corner goes.
And it's a home game for you guys, which I always find
Nice staying at home.
Yeah, I think so. It was William Byron. We've been doing this show now. This is, I believe, our third year doing it. William Byron, the first year, came in and said, Large, wait till you're covering a whole season. It's a long-ass season. And
it is long.
I saw with the Olympic break this year, that's perfect, man. I mean, you guys.
That was nice.
Yeah, you guys should write in, see if we could do the Olympics every year because
next year we got one off weekend.
Yeah, and that's the whole deal. So this is the closest thing that you get almost to spending more time with the baby, right? I mean, it's something. So you get together with guys, I'm assuming then on Saturday night to watch this Xfinity race just for, I don't know, for snooping purposes. So it's a lot. How much easier for you is it with no travel?
It is way easier. Like you said, I get to come home, spend time with my family, sleep in your own bed at home, which is, really nice. After a win, having the crew guys over, one night this week to enjoy and, kind of celebrate with them. And then, Saturday night, definitely we'll have a TV, glued on to, the Xfinity race, Saturday afternoon. Now, Saturday night, I'll be watching my Rebels play LSU. Right. So that'll be a big game. But doing that at home, like in your backyard, have a fire going, it's actually kind of chilly, today. So, things like that are definitely beneficial and things we like to take advantage of for sure.
Are you heading to the Egg Bowl this year?
Definitely going to the Egg Bowl this year. So, it'll be a good time. Taking my wife for the first time.
When you walk into something like the Egg Bowl, being the only, I remember we spoke after your Daytona win, you were the first driver from the state of Mississippi to ever win the Daytona 500, or maybe even a Cup Series race, right?
I think Lake Speed won a Cup race.
Okay. Yeah. So you have that dubious distinction. Do you walk in there just like the biggest celebrity in the goddamn world? Ricky Stenhouse is on campus, that type of shit?
No. There's. Lane Kiffin's the coach. Come on.
That's true. Yeah. He kind of blows everything out of water.
And his dog. So you got his dog as well. So, but no, I'm looking forward to getting back down to Ole Miss. It's been a while since I've been to a game, and obviously the college. I know this is a racing show, but the college landscape football is wild right now. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, this is every show. If you want to talk about whatever you want, we can. I went to Notre Dame, lost to Northern Illinois. I pay $55,000 a year for my son to go to Alabama, and then they drop one to Vandy. You know what I mean? So I'm not having the greatest.
Steve Letart's son goes to Vanderbilt, and I texted our group. I said, Steve, your boy's having a good time tonight. He goes, he's already on the field.
Yeah. They walk down Broadway with the goddamn goalpost. Can I ask you something? Because it's one of the things where Jeff Gluck puts out that poll whether or not you like the race. And I was a little bit flabbergasted. I didn't think it was going to be the highest ranked race of the season by any stretch, just because we had so many bangers. But I was kind of disappointed when it came in as like 65% said it was good. A lot of people said that, the reason being, watching it at home with my wife, my kids are into it now, seeing 4 wide, 6 deep, to me that's exciting. But then everybody in the comments section says, yeah, but they were fuel conserving, so they were off the throttle. And maybe to my, casual eyes, I can't tell the difference whether you're 4 wide, 6 deep going 200 miles an hour or 170 miles an hour. There is no differentiation. It just seems like an absolutely terrifying thing to be doing when you're behind the wheel going that quickly. Is it easier during that fuel conservation mode being 4 wide and 6 deep, or are people just not seeing that it's still extremely difficult to do, in a race situation?
Yeah, it's still extremely difficult. You're still, as I'm conserving fuel, I'm still trying to push my line ahead, right? Like, I still want us to be closer to the front. And so, we might not be racing, all out wide open, but we're still racing to, get our track position. And, I look back at, races in, 2019, 2020, with the old style car, we were saving fuel, but we were riding single file in the outside lane. Like, at least we're running 3 and 4 wide. That's got to account for something. But we've been saving fuel well before this car. And it's really, to me, it's like you. I mean, whether you run a 49-second lap or a 50-second lap, there's no way they can tell.
They can't. Yeah, it's a.
We're talking a second.
I know. It's just people are, and I think it's because NASCAR fans, for the most part, are. I'm giving them credit, a little bit more intelligent, right? Like, so sometimes, and then at the same
They do
time,
the research. They watch data. They watch us. I mean, there's so many things that you can look at, right, in our sport while you're running the race, and you can get on people's cars and watch the onboard cameras and see how much throttle you're using and all these different things. And so I think our fans are definitely integrated in our sport, a lot more than others.
How important is your spotter to you? We've been talking a lot about spotters. They've been getting a lot of shine on the broadcast lately. I had Justin Haley on last week.
When you have your own podcast, I mean, you just you end up say whatever you want. So.
Yeah, but we were shitting on Stephen Parsons just because he's a good friend of ours, and him and Justin like cross wires on his first time wheeling the 7.
Yeah.
And so, and you just hear about it more and more when Larson got into it with his guy who had, essentially called him a pussy later, earlier in the season, all that stuff. It just seems like they're getting more shine. How important is that spotter to you? How integral is he to your
I mean,
success?
at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, I mean, even like you said, you saw it at Kansas with the 7. I mean, you got to speak the same language. You got to know what your spotter's saying. Then for me, like, we've been together for a long time now, but even at Talladega, I came over the radio when we were 4 wide, and I'm like, look, you don't have to keep telling me I'm 4 wide. I know I'm 4 wide. Let me know how close the car is that I'm pushing to the car in front of him, so that I don't cause a wreck and push him too far into the other car. And so I was like, just keep a focus on that and keep me updated. And so I think every race, when you're in different situations, you need different things. And for me, I mean, my spotter at one point, I thought I heard something, and I was like, who was that? He goes, sorry, I had to switch batteries. Like, he wore a battery out, spotting the whole time. So very, very important role, to doing what we do.
I said I was going to get you out of here early. I still got a ton of questions. I apologize. Did you go up to William Byron afterwards? Like, how does that happen, too? Because you're both Chevy drivers. Byron did a very good job on being the car behind you until all of a sudden, obviously, he wanted to win the race towards the end, and you guys were, obviously. But what's the conversation with a guy like William after that? Is it something that you guys even do, or is it something that's just generally unsaid?
Yeah, no. So, every manufacturer has meetings, before the race. Ford has theirs, Toyota has theirs, and Chevy has, we have ours. And, the kind of difficult thing about being a part of the Chevrolet group is there's so many Chevrolets. And, it worked out for us at the end that, there was only one other manufacturer at the front and all of us Chevrolets. And so, Chase did a great job pushing me, and I felt like we were going to beat the 2 to the start finish line every single lap. And I talked to him afterwards, and he was like, man, I was just making sure I got you to the start finish line before the 2. That was his goal every lap, to make sure we timed that right. Obviously the wreck happens, resets everything. We got a lineup, Byron starting behind me, best friend Larson starting, third behind Keselowski. He pushed him way harder than I was wanting him to push, Keselowski. I know the spotters are in an uproar about that, but he made it way too close, for comfort for me. But Byron did a great job. I didn't see him right after the race. We texted afterwards. Did see him at the Post Malone concert last night, and we talked about it, and gave him a big hug, told him thanks. And no, it was cool. We worked really well together as Chevy teammates, and that's what got the job done ultimately at the end.
I don't know if you jump out of a car, you're like, fuck you, Kyle, thank you, William, like that type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I told Kyle last night, I was like, you scared me a little bit.
Yeah. Are you playing in Corey's thing this week?
I am team captain, man. I got my team. I feel confident about it, and I'm hoping to bring home the gold medal. Last year we finished second, had the silver medal. I've got 2 gold medals, I think, or 1 for sure, from the kickball tournament. So always a good time.
Yeah, Corey LaJoy runs a charity kickball tournament. Spider and I were lucky enough to play in it last year, and that's where we realized that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was a little bit of a psychopath. Like, you see the American Ninja Warrior type stuff. You see you climbing. By the way, you're a father now. Stop climbing 20-foot fences, right?
No, I was waiting on my wife to tell me that.
Yeah, but now I'm going to tell you.
But she didn't, so I'll let her know you passed that message along.
Right. Ricky, we couldn't be happier for you. Please give my best to the whole family. Congratulations once again. We'll talk to you real soon. That's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Picked up his 4th win, this time at Talladega, and I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season, Rick.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, so that was Ricky. Spider, we've had multiple conversations with Ricky Stenhouse. We met him. Easy to say, one or more likable guys when you meet him up close, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I forget what track it was at. Maybe, I don't even know. I'm not going to speculate. But yeah, when we see him at the track, when we saw him, he always comes up. He's very generous with his time. Even when he's getting congratulated by winning the Daytona 500 by Richard Childress, he was still making time to chat with us in the midst of all that. So
yeah,
go watch that clip if you haven't seen it. It's in one of the vlogs.
And it's one of those things where when you drive for a small team like that, you really got to get out as much press as you can when you win, right? Because it doesn't come that often. Again, Ricky, congratulations on his 4th career win. But he really does the circuit pretty well and doesn't seem like he's beat to shit. Sometimes we get these drivers and you're the 4th guy to interview him, and it looks like you're asking for bone marrow. Ricky Stenhouse is an absolute gentleman, so we wish him best of luck for the rest of the season. And with that, let's talk about what's coming up next in NASCAR. But before we do that, NASCAR wants to remind you that Homestead Miami is on the horizon. We want to remind you about that too, because we're going down to Homestead this year and we're bringing Dave with us. So the racetrack is located in between the vibrancy of South Beach and the Calm of the Keys. Drivers will be leaving it all out on the track October 26th and 27th as they compete to make it to the Championship 4 for a chance to win the NASCAR Cup Series Championship in Phoenix. So you can witness the best drivers in a motorsports battle going all out on this 1.5-mile oval track featuring 18 to 20 degree variable banking designed to deliver high-speed action and unpredictable finishes. And on top of all of that, you can see El Presidente, you can see El Spidero, or you can see El Gato Grande. So purchase your tickets today for 2 back-to-back days of thrilling NASCAR action in the Florida sunshine at Homestead Miami Speedway. Again, that's right around the corner, October 26th and 27th, and the Barstool Boys will be in the building. But this week, more importantly, we have the Bank of America Roval 400. It's run on the 2.2-mile road course configuration of the Charlotte Motor Speedway, distance of 400 kilometers or 250 miles. So 109 laps, 17 turns every lap. We have stage breaks at 25, 50, and then obviously the checker at 109. It's been run since 2018. I mentioned it earlier. A.J. Allmendinger is the defending champ. He's only raced there 4 times, and he's won every fucking time. And Chase Elliott is the only active driver with multiple wins, with back-to-back wins in 2019 and then the 2020 race in the rain. There is no rain in the forecast this weekend. I know we have a lot of rain wackiness going on just about everywhere, particularly on the eastern seaboard, but as of right now, it's looking 79 and sunny in Charlotte this weekend. There has been a reconfiguration that's going to drive everybody absolutely crazy, particularly around the hairpin in turn 7, which then empties out into turn 8, which is actually turn 1 on the oval. So there's going to be a bunch of different stuff to look at. It's not one of my favorite tracks. I'm hoping that the reconfiguration makes it a little bit more exciting, but we'll get to see that this weekend on Sunday. Yeah, that's it. That's all that I have. So we're going to go picking the tires right now, and that's brought to you by DraftKings. Spider, you've been doing a lot of shit with DraftKings, right, lately? You got these big free bets and all that stuff?
So we're doing a Stoolvivor, as you guys have maybe heard about, and it's now week 6 in the NFL slate. There's only 6 people remaining out of our entire content staff. And I'm one of them. I'm one of 6 people competing. The last guy standing will get a $50,000 bonus bet on DraftKings. So I am nervous to say the least. We have to pick one guy, a unique guy every single week in the NFL season to score a touchdown rather. I think this week I'm leaning Saquon Barkley. I have not used him. He's fresh off a bye week versus the Cleveland Browns, who are garbage. So I think Saquon might be my guy. Hopefully I can advance to next week, stay alive for the $50,000 bonus bet on DraftKings.
It's always in the mix. You're always in the mix, Spider.
Last week I had James Cook to score, and everyone else was super chalky. They took guys that were minus 200, minus 180. James Cook was plus 110. Well, it just so turns out James Cook was the longest odds of the week out of anyone that scored a touchdown. He cashed. He was the longest odds. That means that myself and Jersey Jerry, because we took a guy that had the longest odds, got a $1,000 bonus bet on DraftKings to use this Sunday on NFL. So okay. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm also going to be watching NFL, NASCAR simultaneously. It's going to be a big weekend, all thanks to DraftKings. If you guys have any touchdown scores that you think are, you feel good about, comment down below. Get in touch with me. I'm all ears. I'll give NASCAR picks. You guys feel free to give some NFL picks because I'm very much a casual.
And just a reminder, DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And to Spider's point, it's the number one place to bet touchdowns. So if you're a new customer and you want to do a touchdown dance of your own, sort of like Spider, you can bet only $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use the code Rubbin. That's code RUBBIN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Yeah, you're having a good season with that, Spider. I got blown out in the first week. Then I got a chance to redeem myself in the second week, and I failed even more miserably. So we talk about betting touchdowns. We talk about betting the NFL. We talk about DraftKings. But I also just want to remind everybody, DraftKings is a great place to bet on NASCAR. So that's what we're going to do now with Picking the Tires. Like I had said before, Quiggs is drawing Kamala Harris a bath. So he had sent me his parlay for the week, and Quiggs's parlay is Shane Van Gisbergen to win on Sunday, the Bank of America Roval 400, and Tyler Reddick a top 5 finish at the Roval. So SVG winning coupled with Tyler Reddick a top 5, that's plus 1,050. That sounds pretty good, actually. I'm not going to bet it, but that's going to be Quiggs' parlay of the week. Other than that, what do you guys got? Who you like this weekend? We're recording on Wednesday, so we have a lot of options as far as what's available at the DraftKings Sportsbook. You like anybody, Spider?
Yeah, I'm going to go with SVG 4-1 to start with a little bit of sprinkle on him. And then I'm going to take A.J. Allmendinger, who's 8-1. I was really impressed with the stat line you read about him, Large. Mm-hmm. Really good driver on road courses. And then lastly, Christopher Bell. I told you guys I had a Joe Gibbs driver for you. He's currently 12-1 and one of the Championship 4 favorites. So I'm going to rock with Christopher Bell alongside SVG and A.J. Allmendinger. Those are my picks for this week. I might add in a top 10 or something depending on I don't know. I need some more time to review this, but I might add in a top 10 or something.
I like what you got so far. I was looking at SVG. By the way, like me saying that stat, and I know the reconfiguration makes it a slightly different racetrack, but Allmendinger being 4-0 at this track is so goddamn impressive. And yet when he's going head-to-head with SVG on Saturday, on the Drive for the Cure 250 on Saturday, the Xfinity race, SVG is minus 125 and Allmendinger is plus 275. It's almost disrespect. I'm going to stay away from both of those, but I'm actually putting in a Saturday bet. I like Justin Allgaier. Justin Allgaier has not had the end of the season that he wanted. He's plus 1,000. So I could see SVG and AJ battling this thing out into the wire, and then possibly giving a situation for Allgaier to win. So I'm taking Allgaier to win on Saturday at plus 1,000. And I don't know what I'm doing on Sunday yet. So I'm going to take William Byron at plus 800 to win, which isn't overly chalky. And I'm going to take Chris Bell, who I know you're already on top of, Spider. I'm going to take him, but a little less. I'm going to take him as a top 3 finish at plus 350. So I got Byron to win, Bell top 3, and then Allgaier to win on Saturday. Those are my 3 right now. I might add a couple more too. It's kind of nice to have all these options when we're looking at it on a Wednesday. You see anything that jumps off the screen at you, Moonhead?
You know, I really like Allmendinger. I really like Busher. He's been strong on the road course. Obviously, won at the Glen. And then Michael McDowell. I feel like they're kind of doing McDowell dirty here. He's a really good.
That's a good call, Moonhead.
Really, really good road course racer, and he's down here plus 1,600. So I think I'm gonna probably go with him.
Okay, so you're going to grab McDowell. Before we leave, Spider, anything else you want to mention with iRacing or beyond?
No, just, I mean, Moonhead and I have been cooking up some great iRacing streams for Vanderhagen. We've got a few coming up for Beard Guys, so make sure you're staying tuned. Those are all been going live off the Viva La Stool YouTube page, so make sure you're subscribed over there. But yeah, I love doing the iRacing stuff, and it's good that we have some more streams coming up. So I appreciate everyone who watches, as well as Travis, who helps us get where we need to be and up to speed on everything. So if you want something more than a podcast, stay tuned for that, and we'll be back very soon.
And then I think we have an announcement that came across the wire as a good friend of the show, Chase Briscoe.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he had his twins.
Chase Briscoe, yeah, Chase and Marissa have given birth to two healthy twins from what I saw. So congratulations to the entire Briscoe family. And, yeah, very happy.
And then
Good
Bubba
luck
had one
to
a couple of weeks ago. I don't think we mentioned it, but Bubba had his first kid. So if there's one thing NASCAR drivers love, it's unprotected sex. Good for them, right?
That's right.
Absolutely, just raw dogging. Consent.
That's right.
Yeah, absolute raw dogging. Anything else? Moon, you got anything?
No. I'm just excited for the Roval.
Be on the lookout for any of the links that we're sending out, particularly with that concert Spider had mentioned from the Jump, which is being hosted by our Caleb Presley, and Marty Smith is also one of the guys who's hosting it. And then all the other stuff that's going on, you can find on our social page. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you next week on Rubbin' is Racing.